Okay, so we're getting ready to start our shoe assignment. And you'll see on the blackboard that I said to start exploring materials that you have got at home. So I'm going to show you everything I've got next to me, right? So I've got some different weight regular pencils, my mechanical pencils, some 4B lead, just a regular 2B. I've got some ballpoint pens. I've got some color pencils that I found lying around. I've got Sharpies. And what I've done is on the side of my sheet, I've started by exploring different methods of mark making, right? Because what I'm noticing with the knot project is everything is starting very soft mark making, right? But our still life now is going to be exploring objects with a lot more texture, okay? So I want you to look at how materials relate to each other. It's a little bit more about play than the knot piece. Still to start, when I'm mapping, I'm going to use my mechanical pencil. I find that to be my good old reliable. I'm going to start our drawings the same way I always do. You can see my page is a little bit long, but I've taped off a section of it. That's just because it's easier for me to focus in. I've got all of my marks next to me, right? You can use a separate piece of paper for this, anything you need. I'm always going to start with my rule of 3 grid, right? Okay. If you're having trouble setting up your composition, what I want you to do is take a moment and do small thumbnails in your sketchbook. That way you can kind of get an idea of your layout. I know I always want something to hit at these sweet spots, all right? So this is where I want my interaction to be. And you can zoom in, you can zoom out, right? So by zoom in and zoom out, I mean your drawing can either be, let's see. Your drawing can be a full picture of your shoes with a background, or you can be super zoomed in with very little background, all right? Does that make sense? All right, zoomed out, zoomed in. It's up to you, okay? I'm going to kind of find myself in the middle ground here. I'm going to start with quick mapping, right? So I've got my triangular shape here. All right, when I'm talking about mapping, I'm talking about finding basic shapes and drawing off the edge of the paper, okay? Correcting a little bit as you go. Okay, I'm not getting super hung up on details. Big shapes to start, okay? And then what I'm gonna do, I'm using my utensils to measure. That means I'm holding this up and looking at my line of sight to see where my line or my angle is, right? Because I can see I've already gotten this slightly wrong. Okay, and I'm just building my still life slowly but surely. Finding all of my shapes. okay? You'll notice that I'm letting all of my marks really exist. I'm letting everything kind of stay out there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by finding my background, right? In the knot, a lot of us lost our backgrounds, okay? We weren't focusing on it. We had our still lives floating in space. We're gonna fix that this time around, all right? Background starts now, okay? What it is I've got a really big shadow here. This is really close. That's gonna interrupt my composition a little bit, so I'm gonna let it go right off the edge. All right, and I'm gonna let it be these two peaks. I'm gonna let that be my shadow. Now I'm gonna make some small marks so that I know what shapes are where. Like this is a zipper on the side of my shoe. This is looking inside. All right. So I'm doing quick striations, quick squiggles there, okay? This side comes out a little bit, but it's a lot in shadow. So I picked a subject matter that has a lot of texture. So you can see I'm just starting to try to lay the groundwork for that with quick cross hatching. And you can see how I'm also moving my material while I do that. All right, I'm being very sketchy. In the examples I showed you, I showed Van Gogh because, well, like, I don't know, he's the most famous person I can think of that paints shoes. But also because his drawings have a lot of texture. There is a lot of mark making. Okay, you can see I'm not afraid to go dark. And I'm starting to differentiate subtle differences in my shapes. Finding some of my shadows by changing the direction of my lines, right? I'm separating shapes. These are almost the same value. They're right next to each other. But what I'm using to differentiate them is that this shape has lines going diagonally, I don't know, top left, bottom right, and this shape has lines going diagonally top right to bottom left, okay? But you can see I'm working pretty quickly. I'm changing a lot of my lines, directional. Right now I'm seeing that these are off a little bit. So I'm gonna fix one of those by bringing in my eraser. All right, and that's how quickly I'm mapping, okay? We're back in this now, so we should be warmed up after working on that knot piece and prepared to kind of dive in a lot faster. All right. You can see I'm starting to make some nice dark marks, something directional here. This comes. over. Oh, and my shoes also have pattern, and I'm gonna have to start doing that at some point. They're very spotted, so I'm not sure what material I'll use to do it. Maybe I'll use my pencil and I'll squiggle in some spots. Maybe when the time comes, I'll go in and I'll use my Sharpie to darken some of them. I'm not positive yet, but I need to start planning that probably by the end of my progress on this drawing. And you know what? I'm seeing that I can see the top of that boot. So I need to make some changes. There we go. All right. So I'm working quickly. If you need a more in-depth instruction of this drawing, you should look at the Not 1 drawing assignment where I explain what I'm doing at a much slower pace, because we have done this already once with a drawing. I'm moving things a little bit quicker, right? We're hopping back in, okay? I'm just mapping. I'm making quick marks. I'm starting to differentiate value. I'm starting with my large shapes. I'm breaking them down into smaller shapes, okay? It's always the same regardless of the subject matter we're applying it to. So, all right. I will see you all tomorrow. Check out the handout on Blackboard. Whoop, whoop.